Here comes Peter Cottontail, hopping down the bunny trail. Hippity hoppin', Easter's on its way.
Hi there! Welcome to the Easter edition of Kickback and Kook. Today I'm going to share with you my secret recipe for Cherry Cheesecake Poundcake. So, without further ado, let's get started. Now, this may not occur to you as a gadget, but what kind of pan you use is definitely a gadget. It definitely affects the ease of preparation in baking. Now, on my left here, I've got an aluminum pan. It's very light colored, and when you use a light colored pan, it makes it where the cake doesn't cook quite as quickly. When you use a dark pan, it actually holds in the heat, which is going to give you a darker crust. And instead of having a light, moist cake, it's going to give you a really crispy outer layer. And personally, you may like that, but I don't really care for it. So I bought this pan and I never use it. The reason that I like my Angel Food Cake pan, it makes for a very pretty presentation. Now, if you prefer, you can use a light colored bundt pan. Again, this one is aluminum as well, and it's made with these shapes on it, so you get a really nice texture. So it's really just your preference what you like. So I'm going to make mine in my Angel Food Cake pan, and you make yours in whatever you like. Now, this is how we make our cake. Now for my Cherry Cheesecake Poundcake, I have thawed dark sweet cherries, and I'm going to lay one on the bottom of the pan for each slice that I'm going to serve. And that will be 8 to 10 cherries. This is a really good dessert because it satisfies the cravings of just about any guest that you have. Sweet, buttery, cheesecake, fruit. Just about any kind of dessert lover is going to love this recipe. Now, I also sprayed that pan with a nonstick spray that has flour in it. Look on your baking aisle. It's not the same as just a regular nonstick spray. You want to get a nonstick spray that has flour in it. That makes a big difference. So I sprayed my pan, put my cherries in there, and now I'm going to show you how to make the batter. Now, I've taken 2 sticks of butter and I've allowed them to come to room temperature. And to the 2 sticks of butter, I'm adding 3 cups of sugar. Now, a good trick to use to make sure that your sugar doesn't go everywhere when you start creaming it is to just put a towel over your mixer and make sure that you cover the bowl and then turn it on medium. I want to tell you a little bit about creaming butter and sugar. It is possible to over-cream your sugar and butter. It will almost look like eggs that are curdling. That's overbeating it. You don't want to do that. You want it to look like the sugar has dissolved, but then when you put it between your fingers, you can still feel the granulated sugar. I've taken 6 eggs and cracked them into a bowl. So while that's mixing, I'm going to break up the yolks, and I'm going to mix these very, very well. A lot of recipes in baking will tell you to add the eggs one at a time, and that doesn't really make a lot of sense because the egg whites are a lot like water, and the binding ingredient in an egg is the yolk. So essentially, if you add the eggs one at a time, you're adding water to oil, which doesn't mix. Well, by doing this, the yolk automatically binds with your oil. So let's take a look at our butter and sugar and see if it's ready. So you can see here when I kind of press down, it almost looks like a dough. And then when you pick it up, it feels like granulated sugar, but when you look at it, it looks almost as though it has been dissolved. And then I'm going to slowly add my egg. Going to lift this and scrape the sides. Perfect. To this, I'm adding about a teaspoon of vanilla extract. Now, I'm going to let you in on a secret, so shh, don't tell. What I do with my pound cake is I add butter extract. This gives it a really rich, buttery flavor without adding 5 cups of butter. And people, when they taste it, they think, oh my gosh, I'm going to put on 20 pounds by eating this cake. Well, you know, and I know, that it's butter flavor. It's not butter, but it tastes just as sinful. So, I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of butter extract. Now, depending on how rich of a butter flavor you want, you can use more or you can use less. I always say 5 pieces of cake is better than 1 piece of cake, so I use 2 tablespoons instead of just 1. So we've added our vanilla and our butter extract. Just for a second. Doesn't take long. Alright, I'm just letting you in on all my secrets tonight. So in addition to using butter extract, instead of adding all that butter into your cake, you can add a half a cup of applesauce instead of a cup of oil. Anytime you have any kind of sweet bread recipe or sweet cake recipe, you can substitute half of the measurement of oil in applesauce, and that can be your oil. And you know what? This can cut up to 20 grams of fat per serving in a cake. Go ahead and turn this on low. Add a half a cup of applesauce. That has got such a rich, buttery aroma. It smells amazing. Turn that off. Now I'm going to sift 3 cups of all-purpose flour. When you live in an environment that is very high in humidity, like we have here in Georgia, you're going to get lumps in your flour. And so this is a good way to keep your flour from having a whole lot of lumps in it. It aerates it and makes it very light and fluffy. I'm going to add the 3 cups of flour, and I'm also going to add 1 cup of plain yogurt. In a lot of recipes, it will tell you to alternate your wet ingredients with your dry ingredients. Alternating those ingredients just makes it where you don't have a mess all over your kitchen. So what I do, again, is I just cover my mixer with a towel and I put it on medium for about 30 seconds, and then I check it periodically just until the ingredients are moistened. Turn it off before you remove the towel. I'm going to unlock this, lift that up, and scrape the sides. And then I'm going to stir this to moisten the remaining flour that may have come up from the sides. And now I'm going to put it in my cake pan. Now I'm going to take my batter and pour about 1/3 of the way up over my cherries. I'm just going to kind of tap it around on the counter so that it's evenly spread about the pan. I've taken some softened cream cheese, about 3 ounces, and 1/4 cup of confectioner's sugar. And I'm mixing this up, trying not to make a mess, but you know, my mantra is if you're not making a mess in the kitchen, you're not having fun, right? I'm going to add 3 or 4 cherries that I've chopped up. Stir those in. It's going to turn a nice pink color. Perfect for Easter. Now one thing that I do, since it is Easter, is I take a toothpick and I dip it in blue food coloring and I swirl it around in my batter. To make sure that your food coloring lasts a long time, use a new toothpick every time you start over. And this is something that your kids will enjoy doing. And then I'm going to take my pink cherry cheesecake filling and spoon it into the middle. It doesn't take a lot, you just want to put a little ribbon through the center. And it certainly doesn't have to be perfect. Put a little bit more right there. I take my cake batter on top of that.
Here comes Peter Cottontail, hopping down the bunny trail. Hippity hoppin', Easter's on its way.
I'm going to take my spatula and just get that excess from the side. And then for this layer, I'm just going to kind of spread it around a little bit because I don't want to disrupt my ribbon underneath. So I have blue on the bottom, a pink cherry filling. So I'm going to use violet since pink and blue make purple for the bottom. So you can see when all is said and done, I've filled my cake pan about 3/4 of the way full. I've preheated my oven to 350 degrees and I'm going to bake it for about 1 hour and 10 minutes. Now, you don't want to just stick to a time and say I'll check it in 1 hour and 10 minutes. Check it after about 50 minutes. It's done when it springs back. The toothpick trick does not work on this because you've got that cream cheese center. So when you touch it and it springs back, it's done. So I'm going to bake this and I'll see you when it's done. Now this has been baking for 55 minutes instead of 1 hour and 10 minutes. And look at that! This smells so good. And look here. It's going to be beautiful when we cut into it. I'm going to let this cool for about 20 minutes and then I'm going to invert it onto a serving plate and decorate it. And I'll show you how easy that is to do. My cake is cooled. I'm going to invert my cake onto my cardboard plate. And look at that. But that's not enough for presentation.
He was there when you find those chocolate bunnies.
And just kind of ice the top of it. And since we have an Easter cake here, I think that that hole in the cake is there for a reason. Take my Easter grass, just stick that in the middle, and there you have it. A nice Easter cake. I'm going to cut a slice of this and we're going to see just how good it is. So you can see here you got a little bit of blue here, you got your pink filling. Up here at the top you've got a little bit of purple, and then you've got your pink frosting, and it's just a beautiful, beautiful cake. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Kick Back and Kook. I hope you all have a wonderful holiday weekend. See you next time.
Oh, here comes Peter Cottontail, hopping down the bunny trail. Hippity hoppity, happy Easter day.